All right, you guys, so now the first step to analyzing the paints is to see how thick they are and how much water am I gonna need. Oof, they are pretty thick. That's probably why they came up with the ready to pour paints. They seem like they're the same consistency as the Liquitex basics, so unfortunately they're going to be needing a lot of water. Crap. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a lot in, and I'm going to prepare a big batch of paint. So that way I'm going to have a ton of paint already, and I won't have to re-prepare some all the time. But I'm not sure how much water I'm going to need, so Here, you see that? I'm going with that to try out. Now, for other colors. Now, remember, you guys, when you're working with paint rather than medium, what I mean by that is if you're using Floetrol and you use like half paint, half medium. For me, that's working with medium. Then you don't really know how much water it'll take, you know, to thicken them up. Because I prefer to work with paint and just a little bit of pouring medium, not Floetrol. And then I add water. So every color is different. You see how smoother the gold was compared to the red when I poured it? Way smoother. So they're not going to be needing the same amount of water to get to the same consistency. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to choose colors that all take different amounts. I know that red, a metallic color, let's go for some black. Let's see how this one pours in. Ooh. It's more like the metallic, it's smoother. There. So they're easy to open and really easy to squeeze out. Oh, I love that. The yellow is a bit thicker. It resembles the red. You see, it's not setting down quickly as did the black and the metallic color, the gold. I never measure, ever. I just put some in, like that. And now, mix this in properly before putting in the water. Very important. And it's still very thick, but it's like that with the, like these acrylics, like the Liquitex Basics and the Amsterdam and all those tube paints that are already thick. This is how thick they stay. You know, I only put a little bit of pouring medium, so it basically doesn't even thin it out that much. It just gives it what it needs to be able to put water and not lose your color. That's what it does. That's the difference between real pouring medium and what people use instead, you know? Okay. So now I'll put in some water. Not too much. I know I'll be needing more because it's so thick. Like, you know how those little bottles of Americana that I use? One full bottle, the amount of water that I just put there would be enough, and that's all I needed. But, yeah, this one is thick. Jesus. Same thing as the Liquitex Basics that I'm going through here. It's going to need a lot of water. But always put a little bit at a time, because what I'm analyzing now is how lumpy it is. Like the Artist Loft, for example, it's extremely, extremely lumpy. Those little bottles. So I would have had to mix it much longer. But this one is kind of reacting like the Liquitex Basics. It's pretty much the same. Same thickness, and it's easy to mix. It goes quick. There's no lumps. There. Oh my gosh, it's ready. Okay, so it's not like the Liquitex Basics. I did not add that much water, as much as I would have. They are ready. This is ready to pour. Awesome. So what that means, since I didn't add as much water as the Liquitex Basics, I'm thinking that maybe they won't dry so dark. I'm thinking it might hold its color. But then again, I might be speaking too quickly and I'll have to wait until I see a final product. So, you see that? I know my paint is ready by how it moves around in my cup. That's why I can't have paint that's been already prepared and like in bottles like I see other artists do. Like example, Mixed Media Girl, she prepares big bottles of paint that she keeps and they're already ready and she just squeezes them out. But I need to feel it and see that wiggle in there. And I know that this is perfectly ready to pour. So now let's see how much water I'm going to be needing for the other colors. So I'm surprised, you guys, at how little water I added in there. But another thing that happens is the time that it takes me to prepare all of my paints, sometimes the first colors have had time to thicken up by the time that I'm ready to pour. So what I usually do is I prepare them all like this, then I do my whole video setup, I prepare everything, and at the last minute, right before pouring, I recheck all of my paints. And I just go like that, I wiggle it around, I feel if it's too thick or not, and if it has thickened in time. Sometimes it's only like 15, 20, 30 minutes and it's thickened up. Artist Loft does that a lot, it thickens up quickly. So I just add some more water right before pouring. I always check my paints to be sure that they're all at the exact same consistency before I pour. That's why I can't have those pretty big prepared bottles where I can't see and feel the paint, you know? But maybe Floetrol is different. You know, I'm saying all this, but maybe when you're using Floetrol, I mean, your paints stay the same consistency and they don't thicken up in the bottle. And like, you know, I don't know. I'm not a Floetrol user. I added a lot of water there and it's still not ready. So, as presumed, the black will be needing much more water than the yellow. I'm gonna have almost 2 times more black. No, 1.5. I have 1.5 times more black than yellow for about the same quantity put in the glass. Now, I have to admit, I didn't measure, you guys. I just eyeballed. But yeah, I'm an eyeballer. So now let's go for the metallic color. That one's always more interesting. So we have a black, we have a color, and let's go for a metallic. It's very beige for a gold. It's sort of not gold, I find. I think gold is much more yellow than this. Is it really gold? Gold. It says gold, I mean. I'm not saying it's ugly. I'm just saying I don't see it as gold. I see it more of maybe rose gold, or there's like a tad of rust in there, you know? So just so you guys know here, There's black to here, and the yellow, you can see it, I think. It's to there. Interesting, right? And it's like this always, you guys. Like any brand that you try, all the colors are different. And I always use the backside of a paintbrush to mix. I don't like the the little wooden sticks that people use, popsicle sticks. Okay, so it's still very thick. There's already more than the yellow, and it's super thick. There's another thing, you guys. The type of yellow also depends. So that was lemon yellow. If it would have been cadmium yellow, for example, which is much darker, maybe it would have needed more water. And this is ready to pour. So you see that? That's how I feel it. I just know. See that? It's the same as that one. Let's look at the black now. The black has thickened up. The black is still too thick. I would add water into that one. So I hope you guys get the idea. And I just talked a lot, but for beginners or people that want to learn how I prepare my paints, this is how I go about it always. How I've always analyzed. So let me set myself up here, and I'm going for a painting. Alright, you guys, so I ended up emptying out all these pouches and preparing all the paints except for two, just for you guys to see the quantities of water. So the silver and the white aren't prepared. You see how much? That's how much there was in one pouch, and these are 10-ounce glasses. Now, if I would have used the same amount of Liquitex basics, I would have had water up to the top. So what I see here is that this paint doesn't need as much water as the Liquitex basics, which is a good thing, because that means that there's a chance that the paints will dry more true to their color. Is that what's gonna happen? I don't know, but that's how I see it up till now. As for colors, just to give you guys an idea here, look how much less water I needed for that light green than for the phthalo green. There's a difference there, you can see it. All these paints were prepared to the same consistency, but yet some colors don't need as much water. Let's check out the yellow, because the yellow has a huge difference also. You see that? There's much more water in the ochre than in the whichever light yellow color there. And the metallics also. It didn't take a lot of water. So yeah, analysis. Arteza needs less water than Liquitex and Amsterdam. So let's pour these and see what happens. All right, you guys, so I'm going for all of these colors. And I'm going for Molly's Wreck a Ring Pour. I haven't tried it yet. It's going to be the first time today. And one thing that I'm doing today that I don't normally do, because I'm also in analyzing mode, is I'm using only one brand. I always mix brands usually. But I'm analyzing here. Let's see how this one is going to turn out. Another thing when you're doing your cup, well, another thing. One thing when you're doing your cup is you want to try and go like contrasting. One dark color and then one lighter color, you know? This ochre color looks like vomit. So I'm putting it on top. Yeah, I'll just put it all on top so that way it's gonna go all on the bottom. There. Okay, I'm gonna give it a second to spread. Ooh, there's a lot of little bubblies in there. Crap. Is this making cells? Okay. So let's go for the mini wreck. This reminds me of when I used to put my finger through my paintings. Remember that? But I'm not gonna go for too many. Just like that. Ooh, it's interesting. All right, you guys, so the overall look is pretty awesome. I'm really loving the wreck effect. There's a lot of green, and I'm surprised, but I like the ochre. One thing that does surprise me is that there are a lot of air bubbles right now, which is something that does not usually happen to me. And I'm afraid I'm gonna have to torch. No, I'm not a torcher. I'm not a paint torcher, but there's too many air bubbles. It's very, very unfortunate because when I do torch, then it's gonna create little dots, you know, which I don't want. And that's another thing, is that there are dots. Unfortunately, I have not found a brand of paint except for golden that gives me the nice rings that I want. But it still looks awesome. Phthalo green is cool. Maybe because of the water that it did that. But then again, you see that like right here, all the bubbles. I'm gonna torch that. I have no choice. See all those bubbles? Jesus Christ, it looks like resin. It bubbled like resin. Ugh. That's very deceiving. But I still have, oh no, look at that. All those little dots appearing. Whatevs. At least it's gonna be like uniform, you know? At least there's little dots everywhere. It does look darker in reality. It's a cool painting. Loving the Wrecker ring. And that's how I analyze my paints, you guys. But you can never, very important also, you can't like say that the Arteza paints work a certain way, blah, 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 after only trying one time. So I'm gonna have to do more experiments and see. Check it out, all those dots. Usually my paintings don't have that. But I'm still liking like that part there. All those lines and the colors. And the red and blue made some purple. It's still pretty. Maybe I'm being too hard on this paint. Next painting, I'm going to try with the metallics and the black. Let's see what that gives. Stay tuned for the dried result and we'll see how much it keeps its colors. That's the most important thing, you guys. How the paints dry. It's pretty now, even though there's little dots that I don't like, but the overall look is still really cool. So stay tuned for the dried result. Back with the dried result, and I could not be happier. So much to say. First off, those colors dried exactly the same. Secondly, those lines are freaking gorgeous. Everything stayed. There was no morphing. Thirdly, it is so glossy. It dries like when I used to experiment with the golden fluid and a ton of pouring medium. It dried as if I had used a ton of pouring medium, but nope. You guys saw. It's unfortunate for the little dots, but when you look at it from far, I mean, it still fits. It's like, it's uniform. So what I suggest is maybe to not get the bubbles is to leave the paint out for a little while before using it, which is something that I know other artists do, so that you don't have to use a torch. Maybe I was just too excited and I was like over stirring like a mad person. That's also possible. Maybe I created all those bubbles, you know? But my first experiment is one happy girl here. It's perfectly smooth also. Look at that. There are no tube paints that I have tried that have dried true to color like Arteza has for me. And I know I said that in my last video of the reverse dip, but I had filmed this one here before that one. So this is really my first experiment. I'm at this angle because that's how the light catches it best. It's so cool. I'm super happy. Look at that. It looks varnished. I'm almost afraid to give it a gloss varnish, you know? Alright, so I hope you guys learned something here. Hope this helped. Have a good one.